Hey guys, Slau here. I decided to do another little demonstration of the edit modes in Pro Tools because the one I did yesterday, I realized only after the fact, listening back to it for clarity purposes, was not as clear. There you go. Because I realized after the fact that having a jazz tune that people are not familiar with, where sax solos and piano solos and the heads of the tunes are, they're too much the same and people aren't familiar with them. So I decided to do this again and use something that virtually everybody will be familiar with. So I have... Abbey Road, all right. Okay, if you're not familiar with it, sorry, but I think everybody should be. I have the whole album here that I imported into Pro Tools. So we got, Something and Maxwell Silver Hammer, etc. And I thought, well, one of the, I'm just going to start with, let's start with Come Together. What I wanted to do is just chop it up, okay? And let's say, for example, hey, I'm using Pro Tools HD as I mentioned the other day, so I'm just using the shuttle mode on the numeric keypad. Okay, I think here we have a bunch of space in the beginning, so like let's say the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get into shuffle mode, F1. I'm going to, I have the cursor right at the point where John Lennon says, "Shoot me." Okay, and I set up four hotspots actually. The first one being the start field, the second being the end field, the third being the length, and the fourth being the main counter. So I'm just reading the first start field.
0.926.
Okay, 0.926. So we have almost a second of silence in the beginning, okay? So I want to get rid of that, and I just want that stuff to start right at the top. So I'm going to get into shuffle mode, okay? I'm hitting Shift, Return, and I have that selected now. I'm looking at the length field.
0.926.
Okay, so that's the length field that I just read with the hotspot. I'm going to hit delete, okay? And so now, right at the top,
0.000.
right at the top, we have the song starting, Come Together. Okay? So let's go, let's make this intro longer, okay? So let's, all right, so now, also, okay, I mentioned this the other day, but I'm just going to reiterate. I often audition by pre- and post-roll amount. I audition, yes, by pre- and post-roll amount with the option left or right keys, the command left or right keys, or option command left or right keys, okay? So I have my pre-roll and post-roll set to 2 seconds. Incidentally, if you, I'll just quickly go into the transport window
Transport view cluster.
and go into...
Counters. Transport view cluster.
Let's go, transport view.
Interact with transport view cluster. 2 items. Normal transport buttons. Transport display.
In transport display, I'm going to interact with that.
Transport display. 12 items. Pre-roll enable button.
And here we have pre-roll enable.
0.837.
Oh, see, I don't even have 2 seconds on here, so I'm going to change this. I'm going to tap on this. I'm going to click on this.
Press 0.837.
And I'm going to type 0 decimal on the numpad, 02, enter. Okay?
Start 0.002.
Okay. Now, by the way, when you click on that value, by default, the pre-roll is enabled. So if you read
selected pre-roll enable button
before that number to the left of it, it just automatically becomes enabled because Pro Tools assumes, hey, if you're clicking on a pre-roll value, you're probably going to use pre-roll. So I'm going to turn that off.
Pre-roll enable button. Pre-roll enable button.
Okay. Now I'm going to go down.
Post-roll enable button.
Post-roll.
0.
Read over to the right. I want to set that to 2 seconds.
Press 0.
Clicking it. Numpad 0.02, enter. Okay. Go back to post-roll, which is enabled now. I'm going to disable it. Okay, so we have 2 seconds on that. All right, so I'm going to close the transport, Command 1, numpad. All right, so So right now I'm just gonna, I wanted to get to the beginning of this second round of shoot me's, well, the third one in other words. So I'm going to audition using option left arrow. So it'll play up to the insertion point right now. The insertion point is right there. And I want to audition up to that point by the pre-roll value, 2 seconds. So option left arrow. Okay, so we have a little bit of the sh in shoot me, that's fine. And I believe we're right about on that beat, okay? I'm gonna edit this, create a, split the region there, Command E.
Add selection.
Okay, and I'm going to, let me play from here. Yeah, so let's go, here's 1, 2. You know what, I'll just go that 1 bar. Well, yeah, right there to that second, to the 4th shoot me. So let's go to... Here, I'm going to audition. Yeah, so we've got the sh, and that's the downbeat. So I'm going to split that region.
Add selection.
Okay. And now I'm going to go back to option shift. This is the 3rd shoot me. I'm going to hit, as I said the other day, saying all of this stuff takes way longer than actually doing it. I was just about to say I'm going to hold down the shift key and press the tab key. And like, to me, it's muscle memory. I can hit these keystrokes, as you can imagine, very quickly, but just thinking of saying it out loud takes way longer than it does to actually do it. So I selected the 3rd, the 3rd shoot me, okay? So I have that selected. I'm going to copy it.
Copy.
Okay, and now I want to insert it, like, let's say, I don't know, twice here in, before it goes into the verse. So I'm going to make sure I'm in shuffle mode, F1. All right, so I'm going to tab to the 4th. See, that was the 4th shoot me. So now I'm going to insert, I'm going to paste in here what I just copied. All right, so I'm in shuffle mode, so everything after this point will shuffle over to the right later in the timeline. I'm inserting this here, or pasting it in here. Okay, that is, what we just copied in the previous thing. I'm going to tab over. So we have a selection now because
002.844.
So
Edit selection.
2.5, almost 3 seconds long, that little thing. I'm going to tab over. Okay, this is that 4th one. I'm going to paste in another.
Paste.
Okay, so now we should have from the top 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. Okay, so let's screw around with these things here. He come on flat top. Let me just get to that. Okay, so let's just sort of chop these things up here. Okay, I'm splitting this region. Okay,
Add selection.
I'm separating these regions. Okay, splitting that. Okay, splitting that. Okay, I'm using, again, shuttle mode in Pro Tools HD. You can do this with LE. I think it's with Control and like the number keys or whatever. It's easier with Pro Tools HD to sort of move backwards and stuff. Of course, with the scrub wheel, it's probably the best way if you had a control surface. But I'm splitting this region, and so now let's just totally screw up this song. All right, so let's go. I'm gonna select. Let's go. Okay, let's go. I don't know, 3, 3, 1, 4, 2. Okay, so in other words, the 4 lines here that lead up to hair. Okay, so we have 4. That first one, second one. That's the second one. Here's the third. And okay, so Holy Roller. Let's start with that one. All right, let's just do it backwards. How about that? All right, so I'm gonna select this. I'm gonna cut that. Okay, and you know what? I want to be in shuffle mode because I don't want spaces here. Because if I cut this, okay, in slip mode, which nothing will shuffle around, this is what happens. Okay, I have silence. And you know that whole thing is that. So if I start like pasting around, these things are not exactly the same length. It's gonna be messy. You want stuff to shift around because we want all of this to be seamless. So this is a good argument for shuffle mode. Okay, so I'm gonna get into shuffle mode. I undid that cut, by the way. I'm getting into shuffle mode. F1. I'm cutting. So now hair moved up. Okay, so now hair is everything has moved up to where whatever the 4th line is. I forget. I never remember the words to come together anyway. So let me back up, okay, and I'm gonna go to the first. He come on flat top. So I'm in shuffle mode now because I want all this stuff to shift over. I'm gonna paste in.
Paste.
Holy Roller. Oh yeah, of course, Holy Roller. All right, so now Holy Roller. Okay, so that becomes the first line. Now let's tab. I want to find that 3rd line. So that's the first one, second one, third one. Juju Eyeball. Okay, let's copy that, cut that. Okay, cutting this, going back to where the first one comes in, which is after Holy Roller. Okay, I'm gonna paste this in here. Okay, so let's go over to the second line. Grooving up slowly. Let's cut that. And we're gonna Option Shift to the first line. Okay, and I'm gonna paste this in here. Okay, so let's go back a couple. Okay, so we should have the 4th line, the 3rd line, 2nd line, 1st line. It's like profanity, right? Well, actually, you know, so you know that first line, the he come on flat top, you know, that probably should remain first because all the others, of course, are ba da 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 ba da 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 da. So you know, artistically, of course, it would have been better to just screw up those in terms of order, but that's artistic questions. Those are artistic questions, not editing questions. Okay, so let's go. Okay, so got to be, let's change this here. Got to be, yeah, let's change this. Let's edit this, split that selection there, and let's see. Okay, let's fast forward through this a little bit here. Okay, one. Okay, so instead of, I'm going to split this region, by the way, right there. If I go back to the previous one, got to be a joker. All right, the next one is one thing I can tell you. Okay, I'm going to select this. that whole thing. Okay, and by the way, I'm checking to make sure that I've made the that region selected.
034.784.
Yeah,
Edit
34 seconds, etc. I can also use those key commands to figure out what follows my selection. So this is my selection. I'm just playing a little bit of it. And if I wanted to hear what comes after this, the region that I want to come up to here, I can use command right arrow. And it just auditions by the 2-second post-roll value, okay? So I'm just going to hit delete. I want to make sure that I'm in shuffle mode because I want all this stuff to move up, okay? So F1, delete. So here we go. Well, let me back up a little bit from here. Yeah, that's the first thing. And then we got rid of that whole got to be good looking because he's so hard to see. And let's see, actually, here, let's do something else here. One thing I can tell you is you got to be free. Actually, you know, this is not, this part doesn't have, you know, it doesn't have like music like the other one. Let me undo this, delete. Oh, yeah. Yeah, this one doesn't either. I wanted to try something. Oh, but you know what? I'll try this when we get to a part where there's still music playing through those sections. Here, let me delete again. Okay, so we got rid of that thing. Right now, over me. Let's yeah, actually, all of these. I forgot that all of those don't have music. I was going to like substitute, I don't know, to substitute one word over another. I wanted to demonstrate why you would use slip mode, let's say. Let's go past the solo. Here we can use one and okay. So how about this? 1 and 1 and 1 is 3. Let's do something else with this. Okay, so I'm gonna cut that, or just to make a spot there for a paste. So let's go back to the top. I want to try to find a similar. Let's say here. Okay, so knee. I don't know. Maybe we'll try that one. Or what's the next one? Let me just think. What's? It's already okay. Yeah. So let me go back to it. If I remembered the words better, I could jump around to a better, more appropriate word. But. All right. So knee. Okay. Let's select this. Okay, so I've just made a selection with the playing, pressing play, and then up arrow. Okay, I'm copying this.
Copy.
And I'm going to jump over to. All right, so 3, and now I want to paste knee in here. Okay, now if I'm in shuffle mode, okay, let's say if I'm in shuffle mode.
Paste.
Okay, I'm pasting. Okay, knee is here. Okay, but after that paste, so you see it moved everything over because we're in shuffle mode. I don't want that. Let me undo this.
Undo copy.
Okay, we're back. 3 is back in position. I'm going to get into slip mode, F2, and I'm going to paste this.
Paste.
All right, so now Okay, so it's not a perfect edit, that's not the point, but it's in place, and what follows it, I'm auditioning this with Option Command right arrow. Okay, the timing isn't exactly perfect. I wasn't referencing the drums or anything. I was just kind of, going for the word. A better way to edit a stereo thing would be to refer to the, to actual, the drums, because they're a little bit more steady. But the point is, you see. Okay, so it actually, in slip mode, we're just pasting over and nothing shifts over. Nothing shifts afterwards. In other words, the regions that follow, nothing shifts over. It's exactly what we wanted to do. Okay, let's try another thing. I remember growing up and hearing that, I was intrigued by the end of the album where you had Her Majesty. Okay, it's just a little thing that was tagged on at the end of the album. Apparently, this unused piece of music was included at the end of the master reel of tape. There was some leader tape placed after the end of the album, and then this leader tape, and then this unused piece of music, and it wasn't originally intended for the album. But so, on the record, you had on side 2, you had 15 seconds of silence or so, and then you had this little ditty, okay? And from what I understand, this piece was supposed to go originally between Mean Mr. Mustard and Polythene Pam. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure, and let's verify if it'll work. It might not be a perfect match, but this is what I heard at the end of Mean Mr. Mustard, where right before it goes to Polythene Pam. Let's go back to Mean Mr. Mustard. Here we go. Okay, and the next song after this, let's say I'm gonna get into a nudge value of 1 second. Here I'm at Polythene Pam. Okay, I'm just going to back up a few seconds. Okay, so bum, 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 bum. Okay, goes into Polythene Pam. But originally what was supposed to happen was it was supposed to go bum, 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 and then right there it's supposed to be Her Majesty, that first chord, that chord. Now, I don't know if this will work. I seem to remember that it's a little bit out of key or a little bit detuned or something like that. Let's try it. Let's see what it sounds like. Oh, and by the way, at the end of Her Majesty, you have this. Someday I'm gonna make her mine. And you have bum, compositionally, it sounds like it's gonna go. Someday I'm gonna make her mine. Boom, boom. But that note is missing, and you just have the bum, the last, eighth. So that's supposed to go into Polythene Pam. Okay, so let's give this a try. Let's see if we can edit this in there. Okay, so I want this to be let's just copy this whole thing here. We got this selected. Let's check.
025.986.
All right, so it's almost 26 seconds. Let's cut that. Let's go, I'm tabbing back, option tabbing. Okay, so there's Polythene Pam. So I want to paste in Her Majesty right here, and I don't want to overlap Polythene Pam, so I want to be in shuffle mode, F1. I'm pasting in here. So we have Her Majesty right there. Now, there's a little bit of space at the beginning of Her Majesty. It's just a little, a fraction of a second. So if I audition the end of Mean Mr. Mustard. Okay, so there's a little silence at the beginning of Her Majesty. So let's get rid. Okay. All right. I want to get rid of this, but I want this now, Her Majesty, to move up to right up to the end of Mean Mr. Mustard. So I want to be in shuffle mode because I want it to shuffle over. If I didn't do that, if I were in slip mode, I would just have silence at the place where I just cut. So I'm hitting Option Shift Tab to select this bit of silence here. Shuffle mode, F1, delete. Let's see if this is tighter. Okay, it's better. It's not exactly great, but let me just I'm just going to select a little bit more. I am selecting a bit of the, the sound of that first hit, but that's okay. Let me audition this now. There you go. All right, so it actually works pretty well. Yeah. All right. So now, yeah, but you notice here, and the guitar is like a little sharp. Yeah, it's definitely sharp. Anyway, we're not going to worry about that. That's the Beatles' problem. And now at the end, we have Halatyn Pam coming in. But here, I'm going to audition. Oh, you see, there's some silence at the end of Her Majesty, so there's like nothing there. I have to go back to that guitar note. Okay, and so let's select this sort of silence at the end of the track, and then Halatyn Pam will have moved up. Let's audition this. Okay, so it could move up a little bit. So I can't trim anything off the beginning of Halatyn Pam because it's like right on that downbeat. So what I want to do is I want to trim a little bit off the end of. Okay, a little bit off that. So to me, let me. I'm going to get into. I'm going to use the nudge value of 100 milliseconds. So I'm pressing Command Option. Let's say I'll press minus key on the numpad a few times. So I'm at 1 millisecond. Plus Command Option plus will take me to 10 milliseconds. Command Option plus once again will take me to 100 milliseconds. That's the default. So now I'm just going to use the minus key on the numpad, and I'll move back by 100 milliseconds before Halatyn Pam. You could hear that a little bit of the guitar right at the top. Okay, so I'm 100 milliseconds away from Halatyn Pam. I'm going to hit Shift, Tab, and there's that little bit of that guitar. I'm going to delete that, and now let's audition. I could even get rid of more of that, so I'm going to back up another 100 milliseconds. Minus key, Shift, Tab. I have a little bit more of that note selected now. Hit Delete. Let's audition. Yeah, I could get rid of more. Here, let's. Oh yeah, you know what? I must have gotten into slip mode. Or I must have forgotten. No, I don't know. That's inexplicable. Apparently, I have some silence selected. So let me see how much I have selected.
0.200. Edit
Yeah,
selection.
like you know what? That whole time, those two motions, I must have been in slip mode. I must have inadvertently hit it. So let me undo twice.
Undo
Okay.
clear.
So we have. And let me go back. All right, so there's Her Majesty. Go back to Halatyn Pam. I'm going to move back 100 milliseconds. Make sure I'm in shuffle mode, F1. Okay, so now, so we have that guitar selected. A little bit of that. Shuffle mode for sure. I'm hitting delete. And now let's audition. Yeah, okay, so that's about 100 milliseconds would have done, okay? And it's a little bit early, but I'm not gonna nitpick over that. But yeah, so let me go back. So we have Mean Mr. Mustard. Let's audition this. I'm just gonna move back a few seconds.
She's a pretty nice girl, but she changes from day to day. I wanna tell her that I love her a lot, but I gotta get a belly full of wine. Her Majesty's a pretty nice girl, someday I'm gonna make her mine, oh yeah. Someday I'm gonna make her mine.
There you go. Doesn't even sound so early there, but yeah, there you have it, as Beatles had originally intended, but changed their minds, I guess. Yeah. Let me see what else. Yeah, again, I had mentioned yesterday that pretty much the modes that you're going to use most of the time, 99% of the time, are either shuffle, F1, or slip, F2. There is spot mode, F3. Spot mode is almost never used in music production. It's used more so in post-production. If you're a keyboard maestro user, you can sort of expand the track view to, let's say, its maximum, and make sure that you have let's say the region is displayed. If you select it, it should probably be roughly in the middle of your timeline. If you use a keyboard maestro shortcut to move to the center of the screen, you can perform a physical mouse click and you'll instantly get the spot dialog if you're in spot mode, F3. And then you could say you could define where you want the file to appear in the timeline. It's user timestamp, its original timestamp, etc. But again, like I say, I have never used it in terms of editing. I've used it to import, in the import audio dialog, but that's that's a totally different function. I mean, it's a similar result, but it's a different way of doing it as you're importing audio to a track. Grid mode has two sub-modes, which is absolute and relative, and grid mode is a very visual thing. There's nothing in grid mode that you can't do in nudge mode. So if you're creating if you want to nudge something by a quarter note, you could get into nudge values, set a quarter note, and just use the plus or minus keys, just as you would in grid. Grid is just facilitates snapping to a particular spot on screen. And again, it's a very visual thing. If you drag something, it will snap in your increments. It will always snap to, let's say, a quarter note as you're moving it across, as you're dragging. Of course, a blind user just really wouldn't work that way. They wouldn't drag stuff visually. They would know that, I want this thing to either go 1 quarter earlier or 2 quarters earlier. You hit minus key twice, you're 2 quarters earlier if your nudge value is a quarter note. If you know that you want to take that region and you want to put it at bar 3, beat 3, just hit it on the numpad, asterisk 3, period 3, hit enter, and now you're at bar 3, beat 3, and just paste. So, the grid values I have never used, ever, not even once in Pro Tools. So I suspect that anybody, any voiceover user could probably live without grid mode, so don't even worry about it. I think that covers everything. Hopefully that's a little bit more, a little bit clearer than the example I gave the other day. I should have known better. I shouldn't have used, a jazz tune. It's better to do it with something we're all familiar with, like Come Together or Abbey Road, as it were. Alrighty, hope that helps. See ya.